So what's up, goobers? Today, we're going to be talking about another very popular sea creature, the axolotl. You've probably heard of these guys, but I'd guess you don't really know anything about them. So, I'll teach you about it, so you can tell your friends a wacky fun fact or something. Unless you don't have any friends. Then I don't know. Cry, I guess. But let's get started. The axolotl belongs to the genus Ambystoma and species Mexicanum, making its scientific name Ambystoma mexicanum. Looking at the species name, you'd think they originate in Mexico, and, well, you'd be right. Who would have thought? With how well known they are, it's kinda interesting how little we actually know about them in their natural environment. A lot of the information we have about them comes from lab colonies, where they aren't observed in the wild, but in artificial environments. This is because of how small and inaccessible their populations are, so this is what we have to resort to in order to study them. Kinda sucks that we can't really study them in their natural habitat, but it's whatever, I guess. The axolotl is a type of salamander, but unlike other salamanders, they're unique in that they're neotonic, meaning they keep their physical characteristics from when they're young all the way into adulthood. Most salamanders go through metamorphosis to become adults, like how a tadpole turns into a frog, then living or being able to live on land. During this process, their water-breathing gills are replaced with air-breathing lungs and they grow eyelids, showing changes in order to live on land. But axolotls, they have to be special, so they don't do this. They're not like other salamanders. This is why they look like they're in the tadpole form of salamanders, despite actually being adults capable of breeding. Some other traits they keep from their juvenile stage are their super cool feathery external gills. Yes, those are their gills. In addition to a body fin, webbed feet, and not having movable eyelids. Because of this, they never move to land and instead forever spend their lives in the water. I'd imagine conversations between other salamanders and the axolotl go something like, "Yo dude, come check out all this air over here, it's so nice." Nah man, air's overrated. I'm just gonna chill over here in the water. Bro, come on, stop being a baby, get over here. No, please don't. Help, I'm dying! Weirdly enough though, even though they have gills, they do develop functional lungs and are able to breathe through their skin. In the wild, they can grow up to around 18 inches or 45 centimeters according to the San Diego Zoo, but likely typically range around 6 to 12 inches long. With how small they usually are, it's kinda surprising how long they live for, usually living around 10 to 15 years in the wild. They're also pretty light, weighing around 2 to 8 ounces or up to half a pound. The axolotls you're used to seeing are the pink ones, but those are not their normal color. Outside of laboratories and human breeding, wild axolotls are normally dark colored, like a brownish gray. They're able to slightly change their color to be a bit lighter or darker so they can camouflage depending on their current environment. This coloration obviously makes them much more suited to blending in with their habitat, unlike the bright pink we see. The pink axolotls are actually albinos that lack brown pigments, making them the pinkish white we often see. But if they're normally brownish gray in the wild, then why do we always see pink ones? Well, would you rather have a cute light pink or a brownish poop colored axolotl? Most of you probably said light pink, and that's why the ones we all see are pink. Although the ones in the wild are brown, we selectively breed axolotls to get that light pink color we find much more pleasing to look at, and to keep as pets. Something you might know about the axolotl is their insane regeneration ability. They could lose their limbs, lungs, heart, spine, and even parts of the brain. But just when you think they'd be dead, boom, they're all back, chillin'. Okay, maybe they don't have instant regeneration, but scientists have discovered that for each limb, axolotls can regrow them 5 times perfectly without a scar in just a few weeks, as if it wasn't lost to begin with. And if this wasn't crazy enough, this numerical limitation is only for their limbs. Their other organs can be regrown countless times and still work perfectly fine. It's also said that axolotls are over 1,000 times more resistant to cancer than mammals, making both of these traits super interesting to study, and a big reason why we have so many in captivity in labs. Axolotls originate in Mexico, specifically only to the still water lakes of Lake Xochimilco and Lake Chalco. Sadly, they're critically endangered because of a number of reasons. Their natural habitats in these freshwater lakes are being destroyed, with humans draining them in order to reduce flooding, resulting in Lake Chalco being almost completely drained. This leaves them to reside in just a few canals in the area. Of course, pollution has also affected their environment too, but that's not the most surprising fact. That's pretty obvious, if anything. As for some more good news, conservationists have been trying to help these wild axolotls by building shelters in Lake Xochimilco, using stacks of rocks and reedy plants to filter clean water that's being pumped in. So, there is some hope for these axolotls in the wild, and hopefully we can raise their population from what's believed to be 50 to 1,000 adults. And if you're thinking,
If we bred so many of them, why not just release them into the wild to increase the population?
unfortunately, it's not that simple. Most of these captive axolotls are super inbred, so there's not much genetic diversity that is oftentimes very strong for animal species survival. Without much variation in genetics, the axolotls would be vulnerable to things like diseases that'll affect pretty much every single one of them because of a lack of variety in their genes. It's like how even if a couple of us are affected by a pandemic, there will be others that aren't nearly as affected or even immune due to the power of genetic diversity. Despite how they look, they're pretty effective predators in the wild. They'll literally inhale worms, mollusks, crustaceans, insect larvae, and even small fish, sometimes inhaling some gravel too, which helps grind the food up. Wait, they're pink and inhale food? That reminds me of someone. During the day, they'll bury themselves in the mud to avoid being eaten by predators like storks and herons, but once the moon rises, they rise from the mud and are feeling quite hungry for anything in their sight. In human captivity, their diets are different and seem to benefit and grow faster when on a bloodworm diet compared to other foods in mixed diets. Variety might be the spice of life for us, but for axolotls, it seems they're happy with eating just bloodworms. Makes it less complicated to take care of them then, I guess. During the mating season, the males will look for the females, then begin a little tango between the two of them to begin the mating ritual. For a bit, they'll be rubbing and sliding against each other's cloaca while twirling with them in a circular path. After around only 30 seconds of this behavior, the male will drop a cone-shaped mass with a sperm cap. So when you're about to do the devil's tango, just tell the girl you'll last as long as an axolotl. That'll for sure get her excited. She might not want to talk to you afterwards, but at least you weren't lying. When the male drops the cone, the female will collect it with her cloaca, then begin the fertilization of her 300 to 1,000 eggs. Next, she'll lay her eggs individually on plants or rocks to try to protect them from being eaten. Then 2 weeks later, out comes the baby axolotls without any of their parents to care for them. They simply hatch and go do their own thing. And if one of them gets instantly eaten, then well, that's why they've got at least 299 siblings to avenge them and continue their 5-second legacy. As mentioned earlier, the wild axolotl is critically endangered because of the draining and destruction of their only natural habitat by humans. Hopefully, with conservationist efforts, we can restore their home and bring up their population to less critical numbers. Maybe along the way or in the future, we'll figure out the secrets behind their regeneration ability. I don't know about you, but being able to regrow my limbs and organs sounds pretty sick. It'd be an infinite money glitch, except that the government could kidnap and use me for organ harvesting. But I mean, you win some, you lose some. Anyway, that's all for today's lesson. Subscribe for more fish facts. Or don't, that's fine. And I'll see you next time. Maybe.